Hi, folks. Javi here from AKISC. So with me today is Vandana. She is a master's graduate in business analytics from Northeastern University and currently working with Walmart as a manager level two. For yet another new session of your stories. So I think before the session started, I've given you a brief on what exactly and what is the intention of this particular session that we are doing. Uh, Thank you once again for taking time out in coming joining this particular session and then for sharing your journey with us. We can start off with a small introduction from you, your whole life journey. I think I really went through your LinkedIn profile. It really looks wonderful, your career profile. Now, I think you started off your undergrad from Amrita University and then went on the ladder and then joined Northeastern and then from there, right now working with Walmart. Maybe from your end itself, if you can start off with your journey, how it went. If you can start off with that, that will be really helpful.
Perfect, sure. So, firstly, hi folks. I'm Vandana here, and as you mentioned rightly, I started off with my undergrad at Amrita University, where I did electronics and communications there. And then at one point, I realized that, like in my third year, when I kind of did projects which were basically some kind of courses which were into R and things like that, kind of improved my interest within the analytics space. And I decided to do master's something within the analytics. And so I tried to get a job which kind of aligns that field. And so my first job was at Genpact, where I worked right after graduation. Uh, and so I did. I was a analyst there too, and I was actually a senior associate, and I worked on multiple projects there, kind of getting a lot of hands-on there into the real field. And after that, I kind of pursued my master's at Northeastern University doing data analytics engineering. And during my tenure to at the US, I was at Boston. So I did a small internship at Amazon Web Services, and during my master's too, I was a teaching assistant at my university for one complete year. Um, and upon graduation, with the job hunting going on, and I think I was placed at Sears Home Services. So I worked for a year plus there, and kind of worked intensively on SQL and Tableau majorly. And uh, and so that has been more or less my brief career path, and I've kind of then very recently moved on to Walmart as a manager. So I think it's been an incredible journey, and yeah, that's about it.
All right. Thank you for that. This is a curious question. Whether again, I don't know whether this is the right question as well. So, what is the difference between business analytics and data analytics? I think there are certain courses which are into data analytics, and there are certain courses in the business analytics field. So, please diversify them, or if there is any diversification. If so, can you please share some light on that?
Sure. I think it's a very good question. I think I'm asked this couple of times wherever I go. So I think, especially in India, like probably, um, I mean, even in other, like in US too, like business analyst could be like very widely, it's a very broad term. And it probably in most places, how it's broken down, I would say the analytics space is broken down as business analytics, data analytics, and you also have business intelligence, and you have data science. So I'd say the analytics is kind of broken down into those four sides, and you also have data engineering. um, so business analytics is probably relatively lesser technical, and it's more on management, more on writing, and kind of just understanding data, and kind of majorly doing a lot of requirement stages that you kind of build on. So I would say that is more on the business analytics. But when you come to data analytics, it's more like you're not always doing like data requirement. You should probably know like what you want to do your project. So your expectation is you kind of communicate with project managers and business analysts to say that, hey, we need, this kind of fields are what we're looking for. We for sure need these. This is the kind of data we need from these teams. And once you have that data, a data analyst works a lot on SQL and R, or maybe Python, or maybe Tableau, to build multiple insights and to say, the business should be making so and so decision. So that's, I think, my way of classifying both of them. So yeah, I hope I've answered the question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
got it. Thank you for that. So again, I got a clarity on that. Now, you mentioned during the introduction that it was during your undergrad that you had that interest towards data analytics and wanted to pursue it. So, what was that tipping point that you had in taking this decision and going in depth into data analytics? And you had a realization. You had a realization then, and you went on to Genpact, and then again you went for a master's program, and then you are working somewhere. Was that the initial interest that you had, or that particular tipping point that you was it met? Was it in throughout your journey so far?
Yeah, so basically, I mean, I was doing a lot of projects into electronics. I had worked a lot onto the Arduino and I had even worked on Internet of Things, and I'd worked on Raspberry Pis, VLSI projects, a lot of them that I had done. But there was one of so I'd actually also worked on a prototype project, which kind of had to it was basically an ideation project. So basically, after that, like I was trying to take up multiple courses just as a learning point. And when I actually did a course on R through EDX, I think that was something I really enjoyed doing, and I didn't feel that as a pressurizing thing. So I think that was my first starting point where I started enjoying what I was doing, and I think right from there, maybe it was too easy to say that I want to like pursue a career into that side. So I kind of started pursuing my interest, and I started also like I searched for a job in the same field to really see if I really enjoy it. And when I started like really feeling that this was a thing that kind of didn't put any kind of extra pressure on me, but I felt like you're also given a lot of liberty to do a lot of work in this kind of field, as it also gives you a lot of data discovery space. So I think for me, I think being put in a routine kind of a job is something that I would not enjoy. So I think something that lets me think and lets me try new things is what I really wanted to be in as a field. So on pursuing all of those, like as my career, and I think 3-4 years of that background kind of gave me a good platform to say that yes, I will pursue my masters and continue the rest of my career into a similar field. So yeah, that was a realization point for sure.
Got it. All right. So my next question would be: so this data analytics, the term itself is really booming for the past, I think, since 2017, 2018. It's going up in the sky, and there are a lot of programs happening. There are a lot of job opportunities happening. So maybe if you can break it down to a layman terms, what exactly you do on a day-to-day basis in an organization. This is not for the business analytics guys, but there are also other people from other, so it will be really helpful for them as well. Well, this is a new term, only people have learned really know. So that's why even I asked, like, what is the difference between business analytics and data analytics? So maybe I think there will be more people to really curious to understand exactly this is. So maybe if you can give something on that, that will be helpful.
Sure. So I'd say my field is more onto a data analyst kind of a role plus a business intelligence side. And as a transition right now, I also like kind of work with a team additionally. So I think as a daily routine on like how I work is there's a lot of involvement onto SQL. I think most analytics role are very SQL intensive, and that's like SQL is like your bread and butter. Tableau, it's important that you're good with one visualization tool in and out. So basically, as an analyst, you kind of take in analyst kind of a role. I mean, you take in anything as a project, you're supposed to take it end to end, and try to see as less dependency as possible. So if you're kind of given with one data, you're probably given the messiest data that's possible. So there's a lot of data cleaning, data setting that you have to do, which happens with R or Python or SQL. So depending on the projects, like suppose you're trying to get into, say, a model building or any kind of a machine learning model, you still stick on to Python, which is more preferred at this point. Uh, so you could do some data cleaning there, build your model there, connect that to an exactly visualization tool, and that directly goes to a dashboard, and then that's represented. Or you could do the same thing through, you do it on SQL. So it really depends on how you're getting your data on a day to day basis. Sometimes you get it through Excel, sometimes you get it through cloud, sometimes you get it through, any other, like you're connecting different platforms to get it. So, based on how you're getting your data, you kind of decide how to crunch it, how to like manipulate it, how to do any kind of analysis and give insights. And then apart from that, I also work like basically I have like a lot of stakeholder meetings where I have to communicate the insights. It could be sometimes to a layman who's not really aware of technology as what we're doing. And sometimes when it's like exactly your core team, it's when you discuss your roadblocks, you discuss any kind of help that you require within your particular project, or any kind of new brainstorming ideas. So I think that kind of comprises my day-to-day work, on how we kind of space out like our stand-up meetings, have everyone discussing multiple projects, so we kind of have an idea of what each one is working about. And it kind of sometimes gives you solutions to what your problem is, someone else might have actually solved it. So I think that understanding is what kind of drives you every day, and that's how it is every day. Yeah.
Got it. My next question would be: is there a relation between data analytics and artificial intelligence? Per se, or is there any continuation, or is it a continuation phase, or what is the relation between AI and data analytics, if there is?
Well, I mean, they're not exactly the same, but I'd say they're all in the same path. So, when I say data, like you have 100 streams that could come below that. So, data analytics is more into, say, you're doing insights, you're doing analysis, you're doing probably what kind of recommendations that you need to give, you're kind of giving decisions to the company saying that do so and so thing, and that's going to kind of reduce your cost in your company, or you're going to have higher margins by so and so amount. So that's kind of what a data analyst does. But when you say artificial intelligence, you're trying to say, probably you're trying to automate something completely out of the, like you're trying to do some kind of maybe a machine learning, or uh, you're trying to have a completely different output there. So I think that kind of has especially if you want to get into like artificial intelligence or machine learning. I think your understanding and interest towards a math subject is supposed to be like extremely high, especially for those, since I do know there are people listening here who want to like get into the field of machine learning or artificial intelligence. And also generally, they do accept after masters, like you do get jobs for that side, but it's always preferable when someone actually has like more experience in that side. And also generally, to kind of climb up the ladder, a lot of times a phd is required within those fields, because they're more research oriented. So that's how I would kind of classify both of them.
Got it. During your initial conversation, you mentioned that uh, your interest was tipped by the program. Uh, Vandana, you there?
Yes. I,
Can you hear me? Okay, okay. Your video pause for a second. All right. So my question was like, so for you, the tipping point for you to divert towards the data analytics field was specifically taking up a course on edX and then trying it out, finding your interest, and you found out that this was the interest. And maybe for someone new who is again, maybe say for example, someone who has completed their bachelor's graduation in computer science, has multiple way to go forward. So, what do you suggest for them to maybe figure out their next steps or something of that sort? I don't know if this question would be relevant for our community, but I just want to know your methodology of approaching that particular problem.
um I'd give it like two sides to it. Like one is, sometimes you realize like the kind of work you do. So I'd say like suppose you're in a software engineering kind of a role right after your graduation or any of that kind of a role, and you're say unsure about what you want to pursue a master's. It's I'd say that you should kind of have a clear understanding on when you're coming here for the masters, because the expectation in US especially is you kind of stick on to a similar role after your masters. It has to align your master's degree, the kind of job for your visa status to be successful and to kind of go smoothly also here. So I think one is, if you're slightly unsure, you should take up a course which is it could be like into the computer science, or it could be information systems. So that's more of a generalized, or engineering management. So these kind of three streams will let you kind of narrow down, say, whether you want to get into a software engineering side or the analytics side, or you want to get into data engineering side. If you're already clear that you want to get into the analytics or data science field, it's preferable that you get into a specialized course, because you would do more courses that are aligned to your path, and that will also help you in getting a better job, a right job. So that's how I would classify. Unless you, but for example, those of them who are say doing electronics and communications or any other specialized courses like that, and they feel that they want to get into electronics, you have to get into a core specialized. So I think the only options that you get are like computer science versus analytics, or information systems. So choose a very specialized course only when you're 100% sure you want to get into it. Otherwise, take a more generalized approach, and then slowly enter into the field that you're really interested. So I think that will give you the opportunity and the career path the way you are expecting also.
Okay. Got your answer. So again, I'm taking one more question from the answer that you gave. You said that there needs to be confirmation from one second. I got a call. Sorry. So my question was, before taking this graduation, one must realize themselves that whether I'm interested in this particular course. That is one insight that you gave before taking up this particular program. Any other insights that you want to give before maybe funneling down on making a decision that I just want to do this? One is your interest. Maybe what I think is like maybe one can be interest, second can be maybe job opportunity that it can bring me. The career potential or the earning potential that I have. Something of that sort. So according to you, what are the different parameters that uh, you will be having before taking that decision?
Well, this decision, I think it has a lot of factors, especially with the fact that, so for example, for me, if I wanted to get into data analytics, there were very few universities that actually offer you a specialized course like this. There are many courses that have, say, business analytics, they have a general management, masters. So I did not want to get into any of those. So I was very particular on the kind of course that I wanted to get into. So after that, I shortlisted universities that had that kind of a course. So that is like very important. And then kind of making your list in such a way that you have, say, safe universities, ambitious, as well as, at your level. So um, kind of just right, like you might get in with that score, kind of estimating where you could like fit into. And then apart from that, really weighing what kind of internship programs do the universities provide. And for example, Northeastern provides a great co-op program, like it's one of the most famous things here. So many a times, like you need that right entry spot within the US, like as a company also. So I think co-ops help you a lot, like in terms of kind of having your first job in the US, and then after that you kind of make your own mark by getting your job. So I think making, so I'd say like career opportunities are also very important. And also like kind of try to see like, I'd also try to see like the place in terms of, like Boston has like a lot of startup culture there. So you do have those opportunities, especially for internships. They are something that also helps like sometimes. So I think you're supposed to weigh that too. And before you like kind of apply also, I'd say like getting really good letter of recommendations and SOP kind of, your SOP aligning, all the factors that you really wanted to kind of pursue in your masters is something that you put up there too. And try to see like universities that have a lot of research oriented pieces, where like professors could actually help you also into that side. So I think these are some factors that I really considered before I went there. And lastly, once I kind of narrowed down that this is what I want, and once I selected everything, kind of then try to look into like factors such as, say, with, the kind of students you want to live with, and the kind of places there, and all the other factors required to like kind of make your life more comfortable there. So I think there are a lot of factors that it's broken down into. So yeah.
Got it. All right. So I think you have right till now. I think you are explaining on the whole journey of you how you got into the whole Northeastern University program. Now, how exactly was your student journey like? I want to know your academic side of and the non-academic side of things. How did you manage the whole? I think it was a 2-year program, if I'm not wrong. Maybe can you please take us through that particular journey?
Sure. So, like, I mean, if I understand that right, you're saying, like, how did I manage the 2 years into the academics and like the other factors? Is that the thing?
Yes, your student life experience. Yeah.
Okay. So I think student life experience was great. I'd say it was a complete roller coaster for sure. I think the moment you come in, like especially when you come to the US, I hadn't lived all by myself before I came to the US. It was my first time. So I think, so right when I came in, I think till like my university started, I literally had to like change two three houses to kind of get the right spot. But once I moved in there, I had like roommates figured out from India. Like I didn't know anybody, so Northeastern creates a group which kind of puts Indian students together too. So it kind of helps a lot. So we kind of built a circle before we even reached the US, and we were a few of us who stayed together into an off-campus house. Um, and once we stayed there, I think academics was manageable. It was fine, because there is some kind of a pressure. The kind of patterns are very different from what it is from the Indian studies that we've had. So there's no more spoon feeding that happens here, but I think it was a great culture that kind of was built in. And I think a lot of people here are very collaborative, very helpful. And I think as a learning pattern, it was great. So I hadn't done any off campus or on campus kind of a job in my first year. In my second year, as I had mentioned to you, I was a teaching assistant into computation and visualization. So I did that for 2 complete semesters. So I think that was like my on-campus job that paid for some amount of the tuition, as well as like the other expenses like living. So I think some part of it just gets covered. And I'd also like, right after my 2 semesters, when I got that internship, so that also kind of paid off for like 1 complete semester. So I think, so these are factors that kind of are very good and kind of gives you a lot of exposure with the external world, like outside of student life. And during student life too, there are a lot of companies that come in, give you talks. They give you, you have a lot of events going on for students. There's a lot of fun that also goes on. And as a non-academic life, as what we all students live, there's a lot of, you kind of become a much more independent person. You learn to cook. I mean, that's like your survival there. And be it like taking care of your place and things like that. And yeah, but overall, I think it's been a really nice journey. It's a journey that I for sure cherish. And I think once you move out of student life, once you start working, that's when you kind of, a lot of perspectives change. Like when you earn in dollars, after that it feels fine. But I think your first 2 years is for sure a little crunched during your masters. But I would say that it's a memorable journey for sure. And yeah.
All right. So you mentioned that I think you got the AWS opportunity with your co-op program, if I'm right, and then you moved on to your first organization. No. So can you please take us through the whole journey, your career graph after Northeastern?
Yes, sure. So I did mention, yes, there is a co-op program, but so Northeastern comes up with a few companies too, that they do help students. So when I got in my first internship, I think just 5 of us were placed at that point. And that was like the peak COVID time, where like there were a lot of cuts in the job. There were no new opportunities. So that was how the graph was actually going on, and it was very hard to get one at that point. But I think many big companies say, like, for example, um, Amazon too at that point, where I had applied directly on their website. It would be great, like, so US is a lot about networking, a lot about connecting with folks and trying to understand where opportunities are there. And a lot of times, like, referrals work great. But the way I got my internship at that point was to kind of connect. I mean, I had actually applied on their website, and I was reached out by a recruiter, and they did set up multiple rounds, which has like a part of live coding that goes about in the interviews. So after that, I had cleared my internship at Amazon. And once I completed my internship there, even for Sears, I had applied separately, and the hiring manager reached out to me, and we kind of proceeded with the rounds from there, and that's how I got placed at Sears too. And including Walmart, Walmart too, I had applied separately and was reached out. So I think it's about really identifying, I think making a solid resume which kind of speaks for itself. And it should be like a one pager resume. Try to stick on to a one pager resume at least, and try to put in all the things that you've put, kind of worked on. Try to um, use the action words, kind of describing all that you've done. And I think your interview, since and I think being very strong in your subject, trying to like work on, say for example, in my domain at least, I'm tested a lot onto SQL or Tableau. So I think trying to like practice that on a daily basis, or like at least weekly basis whenever required, is a must for sure. So I think that's kind of been my path onto the job search. But for sure, I would say that job search is not a very easy thing, especially because there's not like unlike India, you do not have like a lot of campus placement that goes on. And it's more like you apply on your own. They reach out, and you have close to like 5 rounds in each company. So I think identifying, and I think also like trying to communicate your answers in a more star approach. I think those are like very important. And yeah, of course, knowing your subject the best. So I think that's how the job market would work. Yeah.
All right. Maybe one final question before we end this. So how was or how is the work culture at Walmart? So maybe if you can take us through the experience so far.
Sure. It's not been a long time I joined Walmart, but Walmart has been it's been amazing. I think I love the work culture here, and I think we start pretty early. We wrap up at say 5 or 6 in the evening, and people are extremely helpful, very supportive. And I think any kind of project, there's a lot of brainstorming and opportunity to kind of talk for yourself. um, Nobody is being pushed to do like a particular kind of a thing. So I think that is amazing, and that's great. I think so. And there's a more than anything, there's a great learning curve that I would talk about. So I think overall, that's what I would look for, like in a job that you're working for. I would say it's the people, and it's the work, and it's the learning curve. So as long as you have a hit on all of them, I think that's the best. That's a very progressive culture, and that's something I really enjoy going to work. And yep, that's I love Walmart as of now. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. So any final words to the people who are right now completing their program and then going on? One thing, and second thing, I don't know if you can answer. Opportunities in Walmart software and data domain as of now. How to reach out to that particular aspect. And then
Can you
third
repeat your
question,
second question?
maybe we will answer that, and then yeah. Sure, sure. So basically, we asked us any final words for the people who are currently looking for a new job in the particular community. First thing, and second thing is like since you're working from Walmart, any opportunities that you across, or say, for example, do you have any referral program that you're having in the company wherein the community can benefit, something of that sort?
Okay. So for the first question, I'd say like I think it's a long journey to come to US, especially like it's a complete 1 year that you kind of dedicate along with your maybe existing work to kind of give in your exams and all of that. So I think giving your best and trying to firstly channelize where you want to be and what kind of course you want to do, that should be the first. Then always when you're coming abroad, like I think there's always a factor that you have to consider, which is your visa. So I think keeping that visa situation extremely safe is also a very important factor. So trying to stick on to the kind of same master's program and searching for a job in the same domain is very important. Thirdly, as a student, try to look for a lot of on campus jobs. It kind of reduces the burden and also gives you, more than anything, a great networking platform. So, I would for sure encourage a lot of on campus jobs. They're very nice. Connect with your seniors, connect with any folks within the university. Your professors will help you with. Teaching assistantships and research assistants, research assistantship. So try to score like a good GPA to also like try and get in to those kind of positions. Um, so I would say those are like the kind of inputs that I would give to students who are joining in. And in terms of Walmart, I'm too new right now into the company, but I'm probably not the right person yet for that. But I would say, I would say like anything that interests you, do apply on the website. Recruiters do reach out, they're very active. Walmart is hiring at this point of time. So I think reaching out and trying to like exactly apply to roles that align your resume and not any role that comes about. So I think and tailor your resume in such a manner that they feel that only you are the right fit. So I think your resume should really speak for it. A generalized resume will not get you an interview. So I think these are factors that I would really want to like spell out at the moment. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, thank you. Any suggestion for the community, for this particular community, APIC, or any expectation that you have that you can share so that we can also improve the experience of the community?
Sure. I mean, as a suggestion, I would say I think I really like the group that's created. I think it's a very good forum for students to communicate and kind of ask their doubts, because I think especially when you're going abroad, like when I was going to US too, I think you have a lot of questions. Maybe it could be a simple question on the visa. It could be about roommates, or how do I settle down here, and where do I get this? Is this the right thing to do or not? So I think the unbiased approach is I think very important and a very nice thing to have. So I would surely encourage everybody to ask questions. You can connect with me personally too on LinkedIn. You can search for me as Vandana Nimbalkar, and any questions I would be reachable. And I think connect with senior students. I think since even those students are on this group, that kind of helps everybody. And try to like kind of just do some pre-work before you go in for your master, so you're not in a complete shock. So I think especially when you go from India to somewhere else, you might have a cultural difference, but accepting that and trying to get used to it is just going to take a while. But I think this group will for sure help you ace that too. Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank
a
you.
wonderful knowledge sharing session. I think it would have been a great and informative session for our community members. Thanking you once again for giving out your time. Well, I think it's early this morning. So, all the best for your future career and the growth at Walmart.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me, and I would love to reach out with all of you for any help or assistance. Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you very much.